On fifth day, that is 19th June, we were supposed to move from Rakcham to Kalpa, which was at a distance of 44.4 kilometers, requiring a driving time of 2 hours. It was situated at an altitude of 9,710 feet, and the temperatures expected would be somewhere around 18 during the daytime and 7 degrees during the night time. I woke up early as had planned to walk around the valley of Sangla, gathering in all that I could of the scenic beauty. The board bearing the name of the village perched against the backdrop of the colorful houses and snow-covered peaks caught my eyes as I went up to the balcony. As I waited for my cup of tea, absorbing in the beauty all around, click, click, click went my camera, capturing the snow-covered mountain peaks all around and the flowing river and birds. Soon I was on my way to walk along the path that led to the bridge on the river Baspa and beyond into the village. On the way, meeting many villagers and having a chat with them. They were on to their routine daily life. On the way, I did stop to capture the beauty of the noisy, free-flowing river. The snow-covered peaks all around, as also the village life and biodiversity that I encountered on the way. As I proceeded, I reached the meadows at the end of the road on the base of mountains with pockets of clear water. The landscape gave tough competition to Switzerland, and I could proudly say that it was here that I felt at home, for here I was in my own country with my own countrymen all around. The people of Himachal were very welcoming and posed willingly for photographs. The presence of society feel was obvious, and they loved interacting and were open to conversations. As I was alone, caught hold of a honeymoon couple, as husband was busy on the phone and wife was free, and asked her to click a couple of my photographs with the background of meadows and mountains. Had to teach her the fineries of how to use the DSLR, though the settings were done by me. Zoom in, zoom out to get the pictures right. On the way back, met my batchmates proceeding to the meadows and admired the silent, watchful eyes of the mountain dog, probably seeking a pat. Had some fruits and milk for breakfast before proceeding to get the luggage loaded as we left for Kalpa. On the way visiting Kamru Fort, the oldest fort in Himachal, which lodged the Kamakhya temple built in 15th century. The temple is famous for its wooden architecture. It lodged the Kamakhya Devi. The idol is said to have been bought from Assam, and the temple is basically dedicated to Lord Badrinath. It was not easy climbing the 1,000 steps to the fort, and the clicks which we took gave us the much needed breath as we stopped to absorb in the beauty of nature that existed all around us. There were many families residing within this hill fort, and one could see the Kinnauri women doing their everyday work, and some of the older ones chatting on the steps leading to the fort. We were asked to don a Kinnauri cap and tie a gachi, a string, round our waist by a stern lady who later became friendly as we made her comfortable to a level that she even posed at the door of the temple for us. As we came down, I captured some photographs of people busy with the chores of washing clothes and a couple of birds. A local, as soon as she saw me pointing the camera at him, took out his chillum cigar and posed for the shot, asking me to send the photograph through an routine mail. I lost my way but was not very far from others who had reached the vehicle and was soon traced and led back. On the way, we had lunch at the local market and bought Kinnauri caps, which would also serve as a memento. Kinnauri girls, that is us, were now ready to get themselves clicked, donning these caps. The tempo traveller was ready to take us to Kalpa, with a stop at the suicide point, uh, which are vertical rocky mountains all around, and would give a straight fall if someone attempted to jump into the gorge seen from the road. A board of "I Love Kinnaur" was put up there, which served as an appropriate backdrop for clicks for the tourists. Kalpa is a town situated at the Satluj Valley, and we were moving towards it, which is located on the banks of Satluj River. It lies in the Kinnaur district. This town is famous for its apple orchards and some famous Himalayan peaks. Kinnauri apples are the passport for prosperity of Himachal and its farmers. We reached Kalpa and checked in, but the peaks were nowhere to be seen due to the thick cloud cover that could be seen. What could be seen was an expanse of apple orchards, some buildings, and a thick cover of clouds. No one could imagine, even though mentioned by the locals, what lay hidden behind the clouds till the next morning. We had our dinner, and before going to bed, I prayed to God with full faith in His decisions to clear the clouds. On 6th day, that is 20th June, we were supposed to move from Kalpa to Tabo via Nako and Puh, covering a distance of 163 kilometers. Tabo was situated at an height of 10,760 feet, and the temperatures expected were 17 degrees during the daytime and 5 degrees centigrade during the night time. We covered that distance in about 9 to 10 hours. So on 20th morning, with the excitement brewing, I got up early and peeped through the window to see if my prayers had been heard. It was around 4 a.m. in the morning and dark outside. So again lay down and tossed in the bed with impatience. Again got up at 4:30 a.m. It was still dark, but the outlines of the peaks were visible, and I thanked God for that. And hurriedly I made sincere efforts to set up my camera for a time lapse to capture the beauty of the peaks as the veil of darkness was lifting. His mercy, and with the best wishes of friends, I was able to capture the rising sun, the peaks as they came out of their veil of darkness, the wandering clouds as they changed colors with the sunrise, and the lovely natural lens flare, using a time lapse which I set up at one corner of the balcony. At the other corner, we were enthusiastically clicking some selfies and photographing each other against the famous peaks of Kalpa, when suddenly I realized that from the terrace we would get an unobstructed view of the peaks, and the peaks would be visualized in a better way. So I proceeded to the terrace for some photographs. We were able to view and photograph Kinnaur Kailash, which stands at 19,850 feet, Jurkadin, which is 21,237 feet high, Raldang, which is 19,000 feet high, Shivling, not the original one at Mansarovar, but the projection seen at Kinnaur Kailash, and Srikhand Mahadev, which was identified and pointed out by our well-read colleague Dr. Parvati Murthy. So, after we were satisfied by our clicks, we proceeded to our rooms to get the luggage shifted to the tempo traveler, and we proceeded for the breakfast. We were soon proceeding to Tabo, on the way stopping at Khab, where the river Spiti meets the Satluj. In nature, nothing is perfect, but everything is perfect. Nature sure went beyond my imagination at Sangla and Kalpa. At Khab, the river Spiti, with its greenish water, flows below the bridge to join Satluj. It is here that we could locate and visualize the peak Rio Purguil, which is 22,362 feet high, and this peak belongs to the Zanskar range of Himalayas. We spent quality time there, clicking some pictures and videos and relishing the oversweet hot tea and biscuits, and then proceeded to drive on into the cold desert that is the Spiti Valley along the river Spiti. The mountainous terrain with the winding and muddy off-roads looked forbidding and dangerous, as were the rocks jutting out from these mountains, which looked friable. We travelled along the treacherous road in the barren land to reach the oasis that is Nako, identifiable by the helipad and the greenery all around. Well-crafted barley fields were seen, which were being irrigated by channelizing snow-melt water. We entered the Buddhist village, and at the entrance was housed a big prayer wheel where an old female was praying, and she obliged us by posing for a photograph of hers. We then, after descending quite a few steps, proceeded to Nako Lake, which had crystal clear waters reflecting the deep blue of the sky very well, and tried to absorb in the beauty of the lake and the surroundings. Some selfies with the beautiful backdrop of lake were taken, and the youngsters motivated for some Bollywood style shots. After absorbing in the beauty all around to heart's content, we came back to the square for lunch and for shopping of local items. The government rest house had a good restaurant which provided us with freshly made aloo parathas with butter, pickle and curd. In addition to the mud houses, there were concrete buildings seen along the way that one travelled in Himachal, moving from village to village. Plenty of orchards formed the lifelines. Tourism, farming and societal values are sure adding on to the prosperity and well-being of the people of Himachal. A few of them run homestays, restaurants, and provide all that they can to the tourists during the harsh conditions when the weather is not favorable. Our driver told us that education was highly valued here, and even the remotest village had higher secondary schools. One was seen in Chitkul near the Indo-Tibetan border by us. Each and every house in Himachal has electricity, no matter how remotely it is situated. From Nako we proceeded to the Gui monastery, which housed a mummy which is 600 years old of Sangha Tenzin, a Buddhist monk from Tibet, who is said to have started his mummification process while he was alive. He was seen in sitting position with the skin and hair intact when the mummy was found. As some renovation was going on in the monastery, the mummy was housed in a small white building outside the monastery. One is made to take out one's shoes as a mark of respect before entering the Japanese-style temple and a small building that houses the mummy. Tabo, we noticed, was a small town on the banks of Spiti River. We checked into a homestay, the White Lotus by Zostel. It was a very beautiful homestay with a clean linen for a change, but the manager was very rude. After freshening up, we went for a walk through the fields to the river bank. Had a lovely time looking at the barren mountains at the base of which flowed the silent Spiti river. Satisfied with some clicks in serene surroundings, we came back to retire to bed. I opted out from dinner as I was having stomachache and some bloating, probably as a result of mountain sickness, and could not sleep the whole night. A hectic and happening day came to an end, providing us with a much more than we had sought. Nature, of course, is the healer, and it healed all that human behavior had inflicted out of ignorance. On day 7th, that is 21st June, we were supposed to move from Tabo to Kaza, covering a distance of 48 kilometers, and the travel time was 1.5 hours. We reached at an altitude of 12,500 feet, and the temperatures that we faced were 14 degrees maximum and 3 degrees centigrade minimum. After a sleepless night, was keen to get out and explore the surroundings of the homestay. As I came out of the room, the homestay looked beautiful in dim light and drawn curtains. Clicked some shots of the interior, of the staircase, of the dining room, of the paintings and pictures on the wall, before proceeding to put on my shoes, which were kept outside the homestay, for we were not allowed to wear the shoes inside. Way to the river was blocked by water for irrigation, filling up the fields, so tried out 3 other paths. In my mind, I had planned to explore for a proper path that led to the hotel for a safe exit, for the path we followed to enter the hotel was not a proper one, and one of the group members had had a bad fall but thankfully no injury. On the way, had some stray dogs following me as I clicked to capture some flowers, birds that were flying around, to make arrangements for their breakfast, and to feed their chicks and the village life. The water-filled farms with still water acted as mirrors, and I did not miss the opportunity to click the reflections of the surrounding mountains. The path was straight and well made, and I just could not get why we were led by the hotel staff through the difficult one the previous day. It was time to get back and get ready to leave Tabo for Kaza. As the manager was unable to provide us with sugar-free tea, I opted out of having breakfast too, satisfied with some biscuits that I was carrying and water. All of us safely exited through the proper path this time and boarded our tempo traveler. First stop was at the oldest monastery in the Himalayas, the Tabo Monastery, a beautiful monastery built on a level ground, unlike other monasteries which are built on hilltops. We went about capturing its beauty, and while coming out, noticed an all-women group entering the monastery. With their permission, we clicked a photograph together and congratulated them for indulging in travel as a lone traveler in an all-women's group. Next stop was to be Dhankar Monastery. It is 1,000-year-old, and the word Dhankar means a fort on the cliff. It precariously stands on a friable cliff overlooking the confluence of Pen and Spiti River, and it is a UNESCO heritage site. It has a meditation cave, prayer rooms, and multiple rooms for the monks. Could not click photographs as we were not allowed to. This monastery is recognized by the World's Monument Fund as one of the most endangered sites in the world, and is currently in imminent danger of collapsing. Few irregular vertical muddy structures stood behind the monastery and depicted the erosion caused by the environmental wraths and invasion that the monastery has faced. At the base of the monastery, the buildings of Dhankar village existed, which have survived the harsh conditions that prevail in the terrain. Each one was now feeling hungry, but we did not dare have it in Dhankar, for the restaurants did not look inviting, so we proceeded to Kaza. Good that we did so, for we had lunch in a wonderful restaurant serving delicious cuisines at Kaza before proceeding to check into our hotel. One interesting dish discovered here was the yogi's bowl, which one colleague had ordered, and it was simply rice, baked vegetables, and baked potato cheese mash. It looked so appealing and light in nature that we all wished that we had ordered for it. We then proceeded to check into the hotel We were again short of a room as one room had not been vacated by the previous occupant, and we were told that the tourist had suddenly taken ill. On management's insistence, the tourist came out and his cough, hunger for breath, and history of fever for 3 days made us suspicious of COVID. So out came our masks and we opted out of taking the room. The organizer family showed a big heart by deciding to take a single room for a family of four. The rest of the group went for exploring the market while I tried to rest and gather energy for the next day.